as simply as dialing *292 hash. GOTV East Africa is your #1 private stock exchange, now bringing you treasury bonds to your sitting room at the convenience of your phone and your mobile money. You can transfer funds to your mobile wallet and get to buy or even be able to sell treasury bonds and receive that money on your mobile phone. All you simply need to do is to dial *292 hash to enjoy the magic at GOTV East Africa. You can start with as little as 15,000 Ugandan shillings to trade on the market, and you will be able to buy bonds not only in Uganda but all over East Africa. We are saying with GOTV East Africa, you can do something absolutely new. I'm here to give you a little bit of touch into what happened on Monday and what's happening currently on Tuesday. Today is the 28th of February and it's the last day of the month. We are getting closer and closer to the earnings season here in Uganda, where the financial year closes around March for most of the companies, and of course they start to declare what each of them has been able to put up in the last fiscal year. And that of course means a lot for you as an investor and informs you probably where you're going to be investing next and where you're not going to be probably putting your money next. So it's a very, very important season as we also begin the month of women. We are celebrating women in March, starting tomorrow, and definitely we will be getting to look at women in investment, who are women investing in different businesses, and women also in the financial markets that have been able to do something here in Uganda. Definitely you need to keep up with Smart 24 TV to get all the latest action as it unfolds. Now on Monday, trades on Uganda Securities Exchange were quite interesting, with a couple of gains and losses on the market, and we had more losses unfortunately than the gains. In aggregate, we had 3 of the 18 listings participate in the trading on the first weekday. The day ended disappointingly with 7 losers and not a single gainer was registered on the Uganda Securities Exchange this time round. Nation Media Group lost 3.81% of their share price, which was the biggest loss for the day. This was down to a price of 427.62 Ugandan shillings. Remember, Nation Media Group is a company listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange primarily, and it is secondarily listed on the Uganda Securities Exchange, currently enjoying one of the most biggest capitalizations on the Uganda Securities Exchange. As for trades, the company has not traded in the last couple of days or even weeks lately on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Mainly it trades on Nairobi Securities Exchange, and these price movements, especially on the cross listings, like we all know, mainly due to factors concerning foreign exchange, as well as they depend as well on the activity of the company or the stock on the primary stock exchange. Now, when you look at MTN Uganda as well, it lost a 0.93% down to a price of 177.34 Ugandan shillings, and that was the closing price, disappointingly, after trading a total of 20,900 shares. MTN seems to be sliding, and it's getting a little bit worrying because it's maintaining the prices for quite a prolonged time. Unfortunately, these prices are going lower and lower each and every day. We began the year with 180 shillings. Now we are speaking of 177 from 179. That's as of Monday. And this was a 0.93% loss. What does this mean for the shareholders? A lot of losses there, of course, especially for those of the shareholders who came in last year. Last year, on average, the stock prices of MTN were between 180 and 195, and the highest having about 198 and 95 at 195 at some point. But currently, we are counting as low as 177 shillings per share. This could mean a lot for the shareholders at MTN. especially those of the initial public offer, because MTN came as an electronic IPO last year, but won in 2021 in December with a price of 200 shillings. So you can imagine the pain so far for the shareholders who actually got into the market back then. It's quite a disappointing performance there from MTN Uganda, but we definitely are not saying all is doom for MTN. There's still hope, and also MTN was able to issue a dividend last year of 4.7 shillings. So that definitely puts them in a slightly hopeful position where shareholders can still hang on and know that probably a bigger dividend could be coming up this year. MTN currently has a market capitalization of 3.97 trillion. This dropped yesterday after the significant drop in price they had, and currently MTN represents 19.1% of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange equities market. At the moment, the 20,900 shares that were traded and cost MTN over 1.66 shillings per share were valued at 3.771 million Ugandan shillings, and shares outstanding currently are 22.4 billion with the 3.97 trillion market capitalization. MTN seems to have pretty lost grip of its pricing after MTN began the year with 180 shillings, currently counting a year-to-date loss of 1.48%. And when you look into the one-week performance, they have also lost 0.93% as well. And in 6 months, we are looking at losses of over 7.64%. That's exactly what the shares at MTN are looking like. However, MTN Uganda still maintains the third most traded on stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange out of the 18 listings on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Currently, in the last 3 months, from the 23rd of November to the 27th of February, the company boasts over a share volume of 22.4 million shares valued at a 4.03 billion Ugandan shillings turnover. Moving ahead, MTN was not just the other only loser. Centum Investments, we remember we had 7 losers on Monday, and Centum Investments was one of them, losing 0.61% down to a price of 265.69 Ugandan shillings. Centum has been trying to put up a fight recently and getting ahead of this week. We were hopeful that probably the stock will be resilient, but beginning Monday, things seem to be a little different from what we could have expected. Currently, the market capitalization of the company also dropped to 177 billion, which is now representing 0.851% of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange equity market. And when you look into the company's shares outstanding, the company has 665 million shares outstanding in 177 billion market capitalization, which is the total value of shares. But overall, generally speaking, in 1 week, in 1 month, and in year to date, Centum Investments has performed much better. When you look at the 1 week performance, the company has gained 2.07% on its value, which is pretty interesting. And looking at the year to date, the company began at 247.26 Ugandan shillings, and basing on the current pricing, the company is counting a year to date gain of 7.45%, and that is ranking it the second in terms of year-to-date performances on the Uganda Securities Exchange. So in the shorter term, yes, Centum is giving us a little hope, but in terms of trading, shareholders can be highly, a little bit not very optimistic in terms of trading. Centum last traded last year in the month of August on the 11th, and this was a volume of 7,800 shares, where they were trading at a price of 308.81 shillings. Their last trading, that's when they had that particular pricing and that particular volume on the Uganda Securities Exchange, and that means Centum is still kind of getting a little behind in terms of the trading activity on the Uganda Securities Exchange. But putting all factors constant, the company has accrued a 6% in 4 weeks, which is pretty good and can be appreciated. However, activity is still quite low. That means probably the demand for the stock is not there, and you can't buy stock in a stock that's not actually trading. I would rather buy stocks from a stock that's going down but very active than one that's going up but inactive, because at the end of the day you will need buyers. If you're going to make a profit on the exchange, you need buyers, and buyers come from demand. Are people interested? Are they making any noise about the company on the this particular stock exchange? So if they are not, if the answer is no, definitely we're going to look at things in the longer term. So you wouldn't consider short-term gains on a company like Centum Investments currently. However, they do issue dividends, and you can check out their dividend curve and see how they have performed actually in the last 10 years, in the last 5 years. I think they have they've done a pretty much great job in terms of issuing dividends. So probably you can look at gains in that direction, but the capital gains are still questionable here on the exchange. Now, Equity Bank Limited gained lost 0.5%, and down to a price of 1,347. The most valuable stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange lost value on the first weekday of trading. This was after losing 6.71 shillings yesterday, down to 1,347 Ugandan shillings per share. Also, the market capitalization dropped consequent of this significant depreciation in price, down to 4.99 trillion from over 5 trillion Ugandan shillings, which means now the company represents strictly 24% of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange equity market. There were no trades similarly on this counter, and that means activity has not yet been steered towards this particular stock, and much as it's the most valuable on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Kenya Airways also lost 0.18%, down to 112.56 Ugandan shillings, whereas Jubilee Holdings Limited lost 0.17%, down to 5,378.37 Ugandan shillings. Now, amongst the participants, Stanbic Bank Uganda led the gainers, rather led the top movers on the market. Now, Stanbic traded a total volume of 1.13 million shares on the exchange on Monday, and these shares were valued at 23.7 million Ugandan shillings. The pricing of Stanbic has still been maintained at 21.0 Ugandan shillings apparently, and the stock has maintained the 5th position in value, hence at a 1.07 trillion Ugandan shillings market capitalization. Currently, the company represents 5.17% of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange. Stanbic Bank Uganda has a lot in store for you. Currently, they have maintained the price at 21 shillings, which is pretty good news, at least for the comparing them to other financial institutions in the same bracket listing on the exchange. And they are currently maintaining the #1 position in terms of trading volumes on the exchange in the past 3 months, recording a total of close to 64.8 million shares valued at 1.46 billion Ugandan shillings in just a space of these 3 months. You can imagine a stock trading its share at 21 shillings, accruing a turnover of 1.46 billion in 3 months. That means a lot. It means the stock is on demand, and I can guess why, because first of all, it's affordable. 21 shillings, I think pretty much most of the people can afford this stock. but also the company is good at issuing dividends, and it has registered a profit at least in every single year since 2020. So there has been a lot of demand for Stanbic Bank stock in that line as well. And so I would say, if it's possible, you diversify your portfolio. If you are not having any financial institutions, Stanbic Bank Uganda could be your number one choice when it comes to buying shares on the exchange. Now, the MTN Uganda stock came in the second position in terms of trading, with a very huge difference at 20,900 shares, and Wumeme traded 10,000 shares on the market. Market capitalization at Wumeme was maintained at 487 billion, and the pricing at 300.0 Ugandan shillings. Regarding the performance of the USE market share indices, the benchmark index, that is your share index, did lose 4.94 points, 0.41% points, closing at 1,207.11 Ugandan shillings per share, representing a current 1 week loss of at least 0.91% and a 4-week loss of at least 0.45%. And when you look at the overall year-to-date loss, they are looking at about 0.45%. So generally speaking, Monday wasn't that good for the stocks here in Uganda. The USE local company index also decreased by at least 0.52%, and this was of course due to the losses at MTN Uganda, and now it's counting points as low as 271.85 from 274, and this is making a 1 week loss of 0.51% and get a year-to-date loss as well of 0.3%. That's how the current situation is at the Uganda Securities Exchange. But remember, always it's advisable to buy when the stocks are going down and sell when they are going up. That's the only way you will make money on the stock exchange. If you're only a speculative buyer who buys when stocks are going up, my friend, it might be a tricky space for you. But I would say it would be a good time right now to go down to MTN probably and buy yourself some shares, as it is still trading at 177. Who knows? In the next couple of weeks, we could have the stock going back to 190, and you could be gaining over 10% of what you invested in the stock right there at the MTN company. To buy shares at the Uganda Securities Exchange, all you need is an SCD account. And this SCD account is simply created as a store of your securities. So it's a first and preliminary step before you go ahead to get to contact your stockbroker, before you go ahead to get to buy stock. You need this SCD account. And good enough, the exchange has put in place measures that are quite convenient. Number one is the USSD code using your MTN line. You can simply dial *165 *57 hash, and following the prompts using your national identification number, you will open the account. Or you can visit their website, www.use.org.com, and get to check out the easy portal and buy shares as well on the Uganda Securities Exchange. A humble reminder, Altex East Africa is your number one private stock exchange, and they do give you treasury bonds, and the treasury bonds are transferable debts. And under the Zabu initiative, Altex is saying you can be able to buy them using your mobile money. Simply dial *292 hash, follow the prompts, and you will be able to access the market and learn more about the products. Maturity periods range from 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, depending on your appetite, risk appetite as an investor, and the interest you have as well when it comes to buying treasury bonds in East Africa. Now, these are the gurus, and they are regulated by the Capital Markets Authority, opening markets at 15 past 8 and closing at 15 past 3 p.m. Let's go ahead to Nairobi and have a look at what the markets were like at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. This is the busiest and the oldest stock exchange in East Africa. Now, the exchange had a total of close to 11 million shares traded on Monday, valued at 268 million Kenyan shillings. The day saw an improvement of 53% in volume and at least 38% improvement in turnover and 15% improvement in the number of deals. However, the day ended with a slight loss on the benchmark index, the all-share index, indicating a little decline also in the market capitalization. The day ended with at least 49 participants in trade, ending with 19 gainers and 18 losers on the market. TPS East African Serena led the gainers with a total of 10% share price appreciation up to a price of 13.75 Kenyan shillings. As well, Samia Africa gained 7.44%, and East African Portland Company Cement Company also gained 6.71%. Longhorn Publishers also had a gain of 6.47%. On the losing side, Olympia Capital Holdings lost a total value of 8.31%, which was a 2.6 Kenyan shillings closing price on the first weekday of trading. Capturati Company lost 5.11%, and British American Tobacco at least 4.27%. Now, regarding the volume, Safaricom still came out on top of the biggest movers on the market, recording the biggest share of about at least 8.93 million shares, and Absa Bank coming in the second place after a huge gap at about 633,800 shares, and TPS East African Serena are coming at a 607,900 shares volume. TPS East African Serena is quite affordable and tradable. So if you are a trader trying to seek out some trade at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, it could be one of your first options. You don't want to get into the big market starting from the big boys. You can start with as little as the TPS East African Serena stock and move onwards. Equity Group Holdings also had a big volume of 260,200 shares traded on Monday. Now, the benchmark index, like I mentioned earlier, lost 1.11 points, down to 125.36 points. And the other remarkable indices like the NSE 25 and the NSE 20 lost 0.64% and 0.4% respectively. And that's the trading, my friend, from the East African stocks that are of concern here in Uganda. Remember to check them out and be able to trade on each of them. You can be able to buy or sell in all of these. We are trying to look at the integration of the capital markets in Uganda, in East Africa, in Tanzania, so that we have a better trading as well and have smoother transactions on the regional scene. And that will only come to pass if you as a shareholder, if you as an investor cooperate and be able to contribute to the capital markets of your country, be it in Tanzania, in Kenya or Uganda. Moving on to the biggest markets in the world, the US market on Monday rallied as Wall Street looked to rebound from the worst week of the year last week. S&P 500, or the Standard & Poor's, which is a benchmark for the top American companies, gained 0.4%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained at least 0.2%, and the technology-heavy Nasdaq Composite increased at least 0.7% during midday trading. The yield on the benchmark 10-year Treasury note ticked down at least to 3.934% as of the close on Monday. On the economic data side, new orders for the manufactured durable goods in January plunged to at least 4.5%, the biggest drop since April 2020, and the Consensus Bureau reported on this one. The drop was more pronounced than economist estimates that were at 4.0%. That's it, my friend, from the trades here on the East African continent, region, and the global financial markets. You can check out more at our website at www.smart24tv.com and follow us on Twitter at smart24tv. My name is Anthony, and thank you so much for watching. The show is proudly brought to you by Oltex, and check out Oltex at www.oltex.com and check out the Zabu initiative to see that you invest in the treasury bond market. Catch you tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye for now.